She's like a sickness in my brain, a vision standing by the window pane. She ripples through the blinds and leaves me in a daze. It's in the way her body moves me, the way she grabs me and intoxicates, until the signals in my mind forget to operate. Fragile skull. I take my pleasure from my alcohol. She'll never give you any time at all. She just comes and goes, you know, and she's got me living in a chemical love, and I try to find the strength to know when she comes back to me again. I'm gonna come.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and thank you for joining me for another coffee and crime time video. Today we're talking about the case of Rhys Bonner, a case that I'm surprised there hasn't been more talk about because it's very mysterious and very sad, and the family of this young man deserves answers and closure, and there's really not a lot in the media about this, and it's been requested by several of you, and one of you, I forget your name, actually just emailed me about this last week while I was researching it and requested it, and I said, listen, I'm actually in the middle of researching this case right now, but there's so very little out there. Do you have any other resources? And she was basically like, no, whatever you've seen, I've probably seen. There really isn't a lot out there on this case, and that's why it needs more awareness. So that's what we're doing with it today. And Rosie is behind my head, I guess, for today's video. She just jumped up there, so she's so little. You might not see her behind my head, but sometimes you'll see movement back there and you'll think my hair is alive. It's not. It's just Rosie. So let's talk about Rhys Bonner. Rhys Bonner was a 19-year-old who lived in Barlinark, which is a city in Glasgow, Scotland, and he lived there with his mother, Stephanie, and what it looks like is his 5 younger siblings, although I could only find the names and ages of 4 of them. So you've got 12-year-old Ellie, 11-year-old Paige, 5-year-old Callie, and 1-year-old Scott. Rhys was the oldest child, and Stephanie, his mother, gave birth to him as a young mother when she was just 17, so they had a very close bond. She said that they would listen to music together all the time, and Rhys loved to have music playing constantly in the house. She calls him a big, gentle giant because he was so tall, and he would actually help his mother care for his younger siblings by taking them to the park every day to give her a break, and he would even help his mother by doing the grocery shopping for her, and if he had some extra money that day or that week, he would bring her a little cake home or buy dinner. So he was definitely, considering himself sort of like the man of the house, and having that bond with his mother, who was so young when she had him, it made him feel, almost responsible for her as he got older. Rhys, though, was a typical 19-year-old kid. He loved to play basketball, and he loved playing on his PlayStation. He was attentive and respectful to his grandparents. He was just a really good kid who made it clear that family was important to him. But then on July 24th, 2019, Rhys left the house, telling his mother that he was meeting up with a girl, and he never came back. Stephanie had planned to see him back later at home that evening since he had plans to watch his favorite football team, Celtic FC, play on television later back at home with his grandfather or father. Some newspaper articles say he was going to watch the game with his father. Some say he was going to watch it with his grandfather. But either way, he was supposed to be home about 7:45 that evening to watch the game. She had also assumed that when he told her he was going to meet up with a girl, he'd been talking about his 19-year-old girlfriend. But the truth ended up being much stranger than that, much different than that. Before we dive right in, let's have a quick word from our sponsor, and the sponsor for this video is Native. Native makes all-natural, vegan, and cruelty-free deodorant with clean ingredients that you can understand, such as coconut oil, baking soda, probiotics, and shea butter. Between work and the kids and life in general, sometimes I feel far too busy to take care of myself. And I know that a lot of you out there feel the same way because I just posted something on Twitter about how my family eats all my ice cream sandwiches before I even get one. And the consensus was very much that you guys feel that too. But using Native Makes me feel like I'm taking small steps to make healthy decisions every morning when I put it on. Small steps that's letting me take care of myself and caring for my health. Native's deodorant is made without aluminum, without parabens, without sulfates, only using safe and clean ingredients that are also effective. Now, you don't have to make a choice between purchasing a deodorant that's good for you and your body and the environment and one that works, because these Native deodorants do work in keeping you dry all day long, even after a day of running around or a day of strenuous exercise or sitting in front of incredibly hot lights while you record a YouTube video and sweat your butt off. Best of all, in my opinion, they smell great. My favorite scent has always been eucalyptus mint. But within this past month, with fall hitting and everything getting really nice and cozy and crisp up here in upstate New York, the apple honeysuckle has been winning my heart. I'll forget I have it on, and then out of nowhere, I just get this wafting smell of fresh apples, and I'm looking around like, where's this smell coming from? But it's coming from under my arms. Coastal Amber and Oak is my husband's favorite, although a few days ago, I did catch him using the apple honeysuckle when he thought no one was watching, and also probably because we have the matching body wash, so he was just trying to stay consistent, because Native has amazing body washes too. Amazing. They are so good. They smell so good. The texture of these deodorants are not sticky or chalky. They don't leave clumps of white behind, and a little goes a long way. All you need are a few swipes and you're covered for the entire day. 3 Native deodorants are normally $36, but Native is offering viewers of this channel 3 deodorants for just $24. That's 33% off. All you have to do is click the link in the description box and use code StephanieH3 to take advantage of this offer. Stephanie is spelled Stephanie. H as in Harlowe, and then the number 3. They now have a pumpkin spice scent. I'm just saying, if that doesn't convince you that it's time to try Native, I don't know what does. Also, I really love that you can just order them and then they come to your house and you don't have to go to the store. You guys know, you've heard me say this before. I hate going to the store. I hate leaving the house. I am a voluntary shut-in, and anything that can be delivered to my front door without me having to leave the house, without me really having to do anything at all, it's a win for me. Okay, so let's examine the timeline of the day that Rhys went missing. He left his home with apparently no cash or a cell phone. I don't know if he typically did have a cell phone and he just wasn't carrying one with him today, or if he didn't own a cell phone. They do not make this clear. He was spotted on surveillance in the city of Easterhouse, about 1.5 miles away from his home, and he was walking up Conisborough Road in the company of a woman who's been described as being about 45 or older, tomboyish, with a short haircut. They can be seen walking on CCTV, passing dozens of stores and homes, and at one point they stop at a store. The woman goes inside while Rhys waits outside for her. So clearly they are together, they know each other, they didn't just kind of see each other out and meet for the first time that day, since he's going out of his way to walk with her and then wait outside a store while she goes in and does what she needs to do. Then they are spotted on surveillance again, walking through the Gardine Road housing estates at around 7:45 p.m., which is when he was supposed to be home to watch the game. They then turn down Balcurvey Road. They walk about 3/4 mile before turning back. Now, this woman that he was with is believed to have at some point sat down on a trailer and gotten yelled at by the owner of the trailer for doing so, at which point she engaged in an argument with the owner of the trailer. Both Rhys and this mystery woman are thought to have spent a few hours walking in the streets before heading to the entrance of Seven Locks Wetland Park, and this is the last time that he's seen. Witnesses say that Rhys was wearing a baseball cap, a green long-sleeved Celtic FC shirt, black Nike trainers, and apparently pants over a pair of shorts. When Rhys did not come home by July 26th, the police were called and a missing persons report was filed, but although they searched for him and his family put up posters with his information and his face all over the area where he was last seen, he was not found until a few weeks later, on August 8th, when his body was discovered between Easterhouse and Gartlock Village in a marshy area in the Seven Locks Wetland Park. According to his mother, when he was found, he was wearing only his long-sleeved shirt and his boxers. The pants he'd been wearing were found about 20 yards away, along with one of his shoes. The other shoe was found at a tree, as if someone had thrown it up there. The shorts he had been wearing under his pants have never been found, and sometime later his hat was discovered in the same area, but it smelled as if it had been freshly washed, adding to the mystery of it all. And once again, this is another point of contention, I suppose, in the case. This is another inconsistency in the case, because some articles will report that his baseball cap was found in the same area that his body was found, and it smelled as if it had just been washed. But another report I read, which came from Rhys's own mother, Stephanie, she said that his hat was later found in the closet of the woman that he had been seen with, and that it did smell freshly washed, but then nothing ever came of that. According to the Scotland police, they conducted a full investigation and they performed a post-mortem on Rhys's body, but he had been in the water for far too long to recover DNA. He was badly decomposed, and they were unable to determine what his cause of death had been. However, it's pretty clear, I think, to anyone, that Rhys did not find himself in this situation all on his own. There has to be something else involved. There has to be some sort of foul play involved, right? Why would he wander out to this area alone? And his mother claims he was, very afraid of spiders and things like that. He would never kill one if he saw it in the house, but he's in an area where there's going to be a lot of spiders. This is like marshland, very wet, very natural, unsettled, lots of bugs around. Why would he go there on his own, take his clothes off, throw one of his shoes into a tree, hide his shorts so they would never be found, and then toss himself into a bog? So I was really not finding anything online about this, especially in regards to the mysterious older woman that Rhys was last seen with, who apparently everyone in the area is aware of, but she doesn't seem to have, at this point, been legally connected to the death of Rhys Bonner. So I did some digging, and it appears this woman's name is allegedly Donna Drummond, and it's rumored that the Bonner family had suspected her of being involved somehow, even before his body was found. It looks like many of the members of the community have also viewed this woman with some skepticism and suspicion in the past, and that may have something to do with the reputation she's gotten for allegedly keeping young boys in her home. Now, when they say keeping, I don't know if that means she brings them in and lets them stay there, or if she brings them in and traps them there. I would assume the first, otherwise there should be some sort of police interference. But from what I can see on Reddit, from people who live in or around the area that Rhys was found in, everyone thinks she has something to do with it, but police don't have enough evidence to actually charge her with anything. And let's be honest, if she was involved, it's very likely she did not act alone. Rhys was a very tall, young, strapping lad, and I have a hard time believing that one woman could overpower him all by herself. And historically, we know from just videos we've done on this channel and what we've, read in our own free time, women don't typically act alone in, the committing of crimes. They'll usually have a male counterpart to help them with heavy lifting, like Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, Carla Homolka and Paul Bernardo. They'll usually have somebody there to help them with the physical acts of moving bodies and things like that. So was she leading him into that area where others were waiting, possibly in order to attempt to rob and ambush him, but it went wrong, or it went too far and Rhys ended up dead? So they just kind of disposed of him in that way. In January of 2020, the Scottish Sun posted an article saying Stephanie Bonner, Rhys's mother, vowed to get justice against the bitch who she felt was responsible for his death. So Stephanie definitely feels that this was not an accident. This was not something Rhys did to himself. This was done to him. And this was right after the toxicology report had come back showing that Rhys had traces of alcohol and street Valium in his system. Now, you might be wondering, as I did, how would the toxicologist be able to tell the difference between your run-of-the-mill prescribed Valium and what they're calling street Valium? So I did some digging into that as well. On a website called Scottish Drugs Forum, I found basically an article that had been written as a warning, and this article was written just this year. And apparently they're trying to warn the community about issues with street Valium in Glasgow specifically, which had been causing an increase in deaths. Now, this website says that street Valium is often blue, but it can be other colors. And usually when people buy them, they don't know exactly what is in them since the quality and dosage can vary. Oftentimes people think they're getting diazepam, but they may actually be taking something much stronger, such as a more potent benzodiazepine like etolazam, which is a short-acting benzo, and it's stronger than Valium, I believe because your body metabolizes it quicker. Suzanne Millar, who's the chair of Glasgow's Alcohol and Drug Partnership, said, quote, "People are dicing with death by taking this drug, particularly if it is mixed with alcohol and other drugs," end quote. And as we know, Rhys did also have alcohol in his system. Just in February of 2020, the Daily Record stated that the Scottish Prime Minister, Joe Fitzpatrick, had said more young people are being drawn to the killer pills than ever before. Many other drugs are imported into the country, but these street Valium pills are produced by the millions in makeshift Scottish drug factories and sold for pennies. He said, quote, "It's horrific how cheaply someone can buy a pill press and get the ingredients to make these drugs. And the net effect is people pay pennies for drugs and they don't even know what they're taking," end quote. In 2019, 2 men were arrested after it was discovered that they were running one of these factories, churning out 250,000 pills an hour using an industrial pill press that they had imported in from China. When the police went into the warehouse they were using to do this, they found at least 1.6 million pills. And it turned out these men had been employing a Walter White figure named Harry Ingle, who had some training and background as a pharmacist and a chemist. And at his home, they found sheets of paper with complex chemical formulas that he'd written down, in which he was basically using to invent these drugs. So these men were just creating their own drugs and selling them on the streets, I'm sure without testing the effect that it would have on actual people. These street Valium drugs are especially dangerous because they affect memory, leading those who are taking it to forget how much they've already taken, and some have reported taking more than 100 pills a day. An outcome for these people, which has become more common as the drug becomes more available, is they will fall asleep and not wake up. So is that what happened to Rhys Bonner? Was he with this woman? They were doing drugs. They went into the Seven Locks Park. He had a bad reaction and he passed away. Did this woman then panic, shove his body into the water, and attempt to hide his things? Maybe she began throwing his shoes up into a tree, but heard someone coming or realized that it wasn't as easy to get those things to stay up in the tree as she thought it would be. Have you ever tried throwing something into a tree and making it stay in there? It's very difficult. It's not like the movies. Well, Stephanie Bonner definitely feels like someone's responsible and that an investigation was not thoroughly or properly done. She says that after she reported her son missing, she also took to Facebook to find out if anyone had seen him, and that's when she heard that he'd been with this woman. So she and her sister went to this woman's house, who I assume is Donna Drummond, and Donna denied even knowing Rhys. And this is certainly suspicious if she was the woman seen with him on CCTV, because she clearly did know him. So why would she deny knowing him to his own mother unless she knew something or she'd been a part of something that she didn't want anyone else finding out about, unless she was trying to distance herself from what happened to him? So many questions, so few answers. It's no wonder that Stephanie Bonner is beside herself and is demanding the police to do more. Additionally, there was some questions as to how the police handled this investigation from day one. So apparently, a few months after Rhys was found, his family wanted to place flowers at the spot where he had died, so they were given a map with coordinates of how to get there by the Scottish police. And his grandfather was having trouble finding the spot using the map, so he asked a local sergeant if he could help him find it, and he was directed to a spot. But while he was there at that spot, a neighbor walked up and was like, "No, this isn't the place." And then a video surfaced showing men dressed in red, allegedly the search and rescue team from the Scotland police. It's only a 6-second video. It's disturbing. But apparently these men in red can be seen dragging Rhys's body an estimated 1,000 feet from where it was found. And apparently this secondary location where he was dragged to was the location Rhys's family was given the whole time. After this, the family filed a complaint and demanded to know if the coordinates they had been given were actually wrong, since the video clearly showed the body had been moved. They also have suggested that proper crime scene procedure was not followed. Stephanie Bonner said, quote, "That video is the last thing in my mind every time I close my eyes. Why wasn't my son treated with dignity? He is only a teenager getting dragged half naked for everyone to see. From what I could see, there were no forensics or nothing. They just dragged the body. The neighbors have told me it has disturbed them what they saw." End quote. There's also a Facebook page called No One Seems to Care, and they made a post this past February saying, quote, "Within the past 2 years, we have been contacted directly by the family and or friends of at least 4 people that have been found dead in highly suspicious circumstances, but the actual medical cause of death is unexplained. Every time we hear this term, we know the families are going to face an uphill battle to secure any real justice. We understand the difficulties this medical determination can cause the police, as they have to start by establishing that a crime has been committed, rather than being told by a pathologist that the death is caused by homicide. But different police officers seem to have better approaches in communication with the families from an early stage. We have acknowledged the work done by police in many cases, but we have also been highly critical of the police in relation to their communication with Rhys Bonner's mother. We maintained this view. But we now want to express concerns that we've held for some time. We don't have the statistics at this point, but we keep ending up back questioning this possibility. Given the type of work we do, we know that there are increasing delays in postmortem and toxicology results. We know that deaths by suicide are at record high levels. Drug-related deaths are at record high levels, and homeless-related deaths are at record high levels. We believe that the overall level of care in our health centers, hospitals, care homes, and communities have been negatively impacted by cruel austerity measures. Therefore, we believe that unnatural deaths in Scotland may be at record high levels, and the pathologists may be under significant pressure. We can't help but wonder if this is having any impact on their ability to dedicate the correct level of time and effort to every case. In other words, the pathologists may be struggling to keep up. We based this on the level of unexplained deaths we've come across over the past few years. The record high level of unnatural deaths and the evidence of delays with postmortem results. End quote. So basically, I think this poster is suggesting that the reason there seems to be an increase in deaths that are being written off as unexplained or unknown is because the pathologists are overworked. They have too much on their plate, and they may not be conducting these postmortem exams completely thoroughly, which leads them to just list on the death certificate that it's undetermined so that they can move on to the next. And on that note, as far as the autopsy goes, I can't find anywhere what is actually said in the autopsy besides, undetermined. Was there water in his lungs, which would suggest that he'd been alive when he went into that bog? Even if he wasn't conscious and he went into the water and was submerged while he was still alive but unconscious, he would have ingested water into his lungs and he would have drowned, and then there would be water in his lungs in the postmortem. If there was no water in his lungs, it's likely he was already dead when he went into the water. Were there any marks on his body, any signs of a struggle? All of these things are relevant, and I don't see them reported anywhere. Additionally, during the investigation, his mother, Stephanie, had to push the police pretty much every step of the way. It seemed that they did not take their own initiative to follow certain investigative steps that should be routine to follow. When Rhys was initially reported missing, the family felt that the Scottish police were dismissive, most likely because he was a 19-year-old boy, and they were like, he probably just went away from home. Maybe he's spending a couple of days with a friend or a girlfriend. Don't worry. That's very common. But it was the family who ended up finding the CCTV footage, which showed Rhys where he was and who he was with before he died. Once they knew what his final path had been, where he had been in the city and where he ended up, they asked the police to send out search teams to that area with sniffer dogs, but apparently and allegedly the police said no. So it was the Bonner family and friends of the family who began searching in the park. A week later, some of his clothing was found in the marshland, but another week passed before a police drone found his hat in a cluster of trees. And that's when they began searching around that same area, and they found his body. And this caused Stephanie Bonner to ask, how did they not find his body until a week later? Did they not search in the same area to find him that day? And what she means by this is when they found some of his clothes in the park, they should have started searching that area at that point, but they didn't start searching until they found his hat or shoe. See what I mean about how this is reporting? Some people say it was his hat they found in the tree. Some people say it was his shoe. Some people say his hat was found later close by. Some people say it was found at this Donna Drummond's house. It's a lot of inconsistencies, and they can't all be true, right? But she wants to know how the police were going to find some of his clothes in this area and not search for his body in that area until they found more of his clothes a week later. And this is a valid question. Stephanie Bonner feels that the police don't actually care what happened to Rhys because they weren't going to do anything about it anyways. It would be much easier for them to just say, hey, the coroner says it's unexplained, that we don't know why he died, therefore this is not a homicide investigation. Chief Inspector Murphy claims that Rhys's death was fully investigated and there was no criminality found. Now, Stephanie can no longer listen to music and no longer has it playing throughout her house, because music was something that she, as a young mother, shared with her very first baby. And Rhys always wanted music playing. He always wanted to be singing and dancing and, feeling the joy that music brings you. Now Stephanie can't even bring herself to turn the radio on. It's too hard and it hurts too much. So what happened to Rhys? There's a lot of different options, but none of them should end in the police saying, well, we investigated and we don't have answers for you. No family should ever have to lose a loved one and then be told by the police, we don't have answers. We don't have closure. We can't tell you what happened, and we're not going to really look into it any longer. And that's the thing. If they said no criminality was found, then what happened? If you are going to say with certainty that there was no foul play, that, nobody did this to him, then tell us what happened. Rhys could have been on this street Valium, and he could have taken too much and overdosed, but how did he end up in that area, in that bog? He most likely didn't put himself there, right? And why was this woman with him right before he was last seen, but now she claims that she doesn't even know him and she really hasn't got any answers for anybody? And did the police talk to her? Did they question her? Did they get her alibi? What did she say? Did the police find his alleged 19-year-old girlfriend and question her to see what the relationship between Rhys and this older woman was? Have the, people in the town been questioned to see if there was some sort of relationship between Rhys and this older woman? And was the owner of the trailer, the one that this woman apparently sat on and then got into an altercation or an argument with the owner, was he ever questioned? Does he have an alibi? Maybe Rhys was with this woman and, she sat on this guy's trailer and he felt he was being disrespected, so he followed them to the park and, did something to Rhys. It's far-fetched, but these are all avenues that should be investigated, and it doesn't seem like they were, because there's no mention of it. There's no report. There's no coverage or footage of these avenues and these paths being followed by the police. It's like as soon as they got that autopsy report back and it said undetermined, they were like, that's it, And I would really like to know if there was water in his lungs or not. So Rhys could have technically had a really bad reaction to the street Valium. Once again, we don't know how much of it was in his system. It doesn't say. At least I don't have access to that autopsy report. So if anybody here is from Scotland and you know how to access it, I'm not sure how freedom of information works in your country. Here in the US, once a case is closed, which this one appears to be, we can request information from law enforcement and they have to give it to us. It's a Freedom of Information Act. They have to give it to us. But I don't know how it is in Scotland. So I'm not sure if you're able to get your hands on that autopsy report so I can see a more thorough explanation of what happened. Or even if his parents have access to the toxicology and the postmortem report. I'd be very curious to know if they do. Once again, I'm not sure how it works in Scotland, but here in the US, as the family of a victim, you have the right to those things. So if they haven't been given those and they've been asking for them, that's another question that we need to examine. But as of now, that's all I have for you. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Let me know if you're aware of this case. Let me know if you know more about this case than I do. Email me if you have more information on it, because I do want to look into it further. Like the video if you liked it. Share it if you think it's worth sharing. Make sure that you are subscribed if you're not already subscribed, and make sure the bell's on so you get notified every time I post a video. YouTube loves to unsubscribe people and not notify you guys when I post a video. They're so cheeky, but that is a fun game we play, and it's getting old for me. So just make sure that you're subscribed still. Make sure that the notifications are checked so you are, aware when I post video, especially with Halloween coming up here. I'm gonna go live before Halloween, the night before Halloween. I think it's a Wednesday. Yep, Wednesday, September 30th. I'm going to go live and kind of let you guys know what to expect for Halloween, let you know what's going to be happening with it now that I've gotten my Gmail back, but I'm still 2 weeks behind. So there's a lot of catching up to do. There's a lot of work to do, but Halloween is on. It's happening. It just might be a little different this year, but not in a bad way. It's going to be great. I'm so excited, and I hope you guys are too. So I hope that I see you in the comments of this video. I hope I see you in the live on September 30th, which is a Wednesday night. I'll probably go live around like 9 or 9:30 whenever the kids go to sleep. They rule me. But I hope to see you guys there, and I hope to see you all next month during Halloween. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I really cannot wait. Also, don't forget to click the link in the description box and use the code StephanieH3 to get your Native deodorant. They're amazing. They're awesome. I love it. Thank you so much to Native for sponsoring this video. Thank you guys for being here. Stay kind, stay beautiful, and I'll be seeing you very, very soon. Bye.
Water levy don't break now, and the bottle's going straight down, and that river runs deep, the mountains get steep, and the voices getting too loud. All these feelings I've buried, it's looking like a cemetery. They're going back from the grave, calling out my name, better say a Hail Mary. Well, you don't know how deep it goes until it's getting you slowly.